We're going to jump on to our next speaker now. I have a feeling that Vassilios was with us last year because Vassilios, I think I stumbled over your name that year as well. So I do apologize, but you will be our next presenter. And if I understand correctly, you're going to be telling us about the online resources that you've developed to look at the way that we used to travel around the planet in olden days, shall we say. I'm just waiting to see. So your slides are good to go. Do we see you? I think we see you. I'm just trying to do. Yeah, I see you fine. And yeah, I hear you as well. So you're good to go.
Great, great. Well, thanks very much, Fraser. Yes, you remember correctly. Thank you for introducing me again. I take it as a good omen. I really enjoyed the experience last time. So it's an honor to be here again. My name is Vassilios. I work at Glasgow International College, which is affiliated to Glasgow University. And today I'm going to be taking you on a journey both around the world and into the past. And we're going to do that in order to learn a little bit about the secrets of celestial navigation. So this is a project that's been funded by the Institute of Physics in Scotland. So I thank them very much for supporting this. And the idea is to introduce the basics of celestial navigation in an innovative way. And what I've done, what I decided to do was to use two very popular software platforms, Google Earth. As most of you will be aware of this, we can use it to virtually fly around the world. And also the freeware planetarium software, Stellarium. Those of you who are into stargazing or astronomy will also be familiar with this. It's a fantastic piece of software, and we can use it to set the view to the night sky from anywhere in the world and in fact outside the world as well. Now, the great thing about these two platforms is that although they have desktop versions that are more sophisticated, they have got more advanced features, they can also both be accessed directly from the web. So there's no need for any download. And the resources that I've developed use the web version of both these resources. So they are really easy for someone just to, as long as you have an internet connection and a browser, you can use them very easily. The activities follow the format of a kind of imaginary journey, I guess, around the world and into the past. I'm also going to be delivering some workshops based on the online materials I'm presenting in a couple of weeks at the Orkney Science Festival, which is happening online. Orkney, for those of you who don't know, are a set of the Orkney Islands are a set of islands and in the north, very north of above Scotland, basically above the Scottish mainland, I should say. And as I was saying initially, the project is supported by the Institute of Physics in Scotland. Now, all the activities can be accessed for free on this from this link. I'll be putting the link on the final slide as well, so you'll get a chance to take a note at that point. So let me move on to the next one. So why would you want to do something like this? Well, in my opinion, sorry, let me go back to that. Learning to use the stars, the sun and moon to navigate is a very good way of inspiring people, especially young people, to engage with astronomy. And although you can find quite a lot of celestial navigation resources online and obviously in books, some of them are pretty advanced, so they're not really geared towards the beginner. And those that are for beginners tend to be scattered all over the place. So there's not really, I haven't found one place where you can find lots of different tips and tricks all organized on the same site. I also think that combining Google Earth with Stellarium results in a more sort of fun and interactive way of learning. And finally, navigation techniques are taken for these set of activities from various ancient civilizations. I'll be talking a little bit about the Phoenicians, the ancient Greeks, the Vikings, the Polynesians, and I think that including a component of the history of astronomy, I guess this is, further increases interest and motivation. So we have, in this journey, we have 5 stops that include activities and learning outcomes. I guess there's also a 6th stop, which is New Zealand. That's where we finish off and wrap up what we've learned throughout this journey around the world. So the first stop is in Carthage. Carthage was an ancient Phoenician colony in modern-day Tunisia. The Phoenicians, for those of you who are maybe not aware of this, were a very important ancient people. They flourished round about 1000 BCE. They came from modern-day Lebanon, and they colonized much of the Mediterranean at the time. And obviously to do that, they must have been very good sailors. They didn't have the instruments that sailors have nowadays, so they obviously must have used other means. And the reason that they're so important for us, for this project, is that we have written references that the Phoenicians used the stars, and in particular the constellation Ursa Minor, the little bear, in order to navigate. So the ancient Greek poet Aratus, he tells us that the Phoenicians put their trust into the little bear in order to navigate. Now, the little bear at that time had different names. One of the names that was used by the ancient Greeks, in fact, was Phoeniki, which obviously comes from the Phoenicians, and it tells us that it was really well known that they used this constellation to navigate. So there's activities based on showing us how we can use this constellation. In fact, a lot of you will know that it's located very close to true north. In fact, nowadays, the most famous star in this constellation, Polaris, is almost bang on true north. In the time of the Phoenicians, due to precession, this wasn't quite the case, but it was still quite close to the North Celestial Pole. So this gave them a relatively crude, but also very easy way to locate true north and to navigate in this way. So there's activities which use Stellarium, as I will show you later on, introducing the students to this kind of thing. Now, all or most, probably all ancient civilizations used the sun also to tell time. Sundials were used also by the Phoenicians. There's apart from the Stellarium, there's also various links to practical activities. So I have a link in this this stop here to showing users how they can construct a simple sundial. And there's also a link to a Phoenician sundial, which is currently kept at the Museum of Beirut. The next step, for the next step, we go to Marseille in modern day France. Marseille at the time of, well, around about 600 BCE, when it was founded as a Greek, an ancient Greek colony. Massalia is the Greek name, as the Greeks in the audience will know. And the reason we go there is we want to meet Pytheas the Greek, or Pytheas as we would pronounce it in Greek. And the reason we want to meet him was that he performed one of the most celebrated, the most amazing journeys of antiquity. He lived about 350 BCE, so round about Alexander the Great's time, just to put you in the picture. And while Alexander the Great traveled east, as many of you all know, reaching northern India. Pytheas traveled north. We don't know exactly what route he took, but we do know with pretty high confidence that he reached northern Scotland, possibly the Orkney Islands, and from there, possibly even Iceland. How do we know these things? Well, his work on the journey, on the ocean, it was called, has not survived, but references to it have survived. And the ancients, and Pytheas seemed to be an accomplished astronomer, they used the sun to estimate latitude. So by measuring, by estimating the altitude of the sun on certain days, in fact, the maximum altitude of the sun, the meridian altitude, they could use this to estimate the latitude at which they were at. And by references to his work, we can estimate how far north he reached. And this is how we know that he reached these amazing distances from his hometown. The ancients also used the stars to tell time, and there's a nice little activity. This is, again, one of the practical ones, a link to, these are all external links, I should say, to an activity for building, constructing a star clock using the Great Bear. We then move on to Newfoundland. Newfoundland is an island in modern-day Canada. The Vikings arrived there almost 500 years before Columbus visited America. And of course, again, to do this, they must have been great sailors, great navigators. The Vikings, obviously, they came from a very northern latitudes, and they mainly sailed in the summer. So obviously, a lot of their sailing was done in daylight. They used, or we think they used, a device called the sun compass. There's some history about that in this part of the journey. Obviously, they must have also traveled at night sometimes. And the way they traveled, as far as we know, is they kept to a certain latitude. They did what we call latitude sailing. So, for example, if they were sailing from Norway across to Iceland, that would have been roughly 60, 61 degrees north. They would want to stick to that altitude. And to do that, they would use zenith stars. These are stars that pass above your head at a certain latitude. So, for example, they might have seen, I don't know, star X, and they knew that when that was above their head, they were at the right altitude. And by making sure that was happening, they would stick to the latitude that they wanted to. After the Vikings, we go across to the other side of the world to meet the amazing Polynesians.
Vassilios, sorry to interrupt. Are you sharing a website here, or are you trying to share a website here?
No, I should be sharing my my
Just
slides.
PowerPoint. Okay, fine, no problem.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Carry on.
Yeah. I'm actually on holiday now, and the internet is not great. So I thought rather than sharing the website, I would share slides and also some screenshots later on.
No
but
problem.
We'll see.
I thought I would just check just in case you.
No,
miss
you're right. Yeah, it
All right,
sounds
no
as
worries.
if I'm on a website on a
Okay,
journey
please carry on.
somewhere. Yeah, you're right.
Thanks.
So we go to Hawaii to meet the Polynesians. I didn't know much about them before I started researching this, and it really is amazing. They colonized the Pacific Ocean. They started colonizing it 3,000 years ago, traveling vast distances of just empty sea, basically. They used different cues from the sea, from birds, from the wind. Well, of course, above all, they would have used stars for their navigation. And those of you who have seen the Disney movie Moana will remember that she uses the stars in order to locate home. So we learn here about a star compass. A star compass is a mental construction that the Polynesians used and still use. There's been a revival in Polynesian navigation. It's basically navigators, they memorize the rising and setting points of literally 100 or 200 stars, at a certain latitude, of course. And by knowing that, they have a mental map of the sky. So if they see Sirius rising from a certain point, they know that that is, I don't know, southeast bearing of X degrees. And this is how they would be able to navigate. The final stop with related activities is Easter Island. This is part of the Polynesian, the so-called Polynesian Triangle: Hawaii, Easter Island, and New Zealand. This is where we finish our journey. And Easter Island is in the southern hemisphere, and of course there we need to use different methods. We can't use Polaris, for example, to navigate. We learn how to use the Southern Cross to find true south. Okay, so just to explain how all this is done, users are taken to a specific location on Google Earth. They're flown there virtually, and they're given some brief historical information. They are introduced to the navigators that thrived at that particular location. The celestial navigation techniques are described that were used by those navigators, and links to practical activities are provided. For example, the construction of sundials, I was saying. Users are then instructed to open Stellarium and to follow specific instructions which cover the newly acquired knowledge. And as I said, in total, there's 5 sets of activities that are in this platform. So I said I'll try at the end maybe and share the website with you. I'm not sure if it'll handle it here, but I've got some screenshots. This is the one with Pythias or Pythias, Marseille. This is modern day Marseille. Looks slightly different, I'm sure, to the one that Pythias grew up in. You see on the left-hand corner, you see Marseille. Top right, there's some images. This is an image of Pythias, statue, sorry, of Pythias from Marseille. You can scroll through the images and get some useful information. And in the bottom right-hand corner, there's a lot of information about the history, the tasks, the navigators. This is just a short part you see here. You obviously scroll down and there's more, a lot more that you can learn. I'm not going to go through all of this, but these are the Stellarium instructions associated to the Pythias activity. So for example, users are told to set the observation to location to Marseille. This makes it more realistic. They then have to locate the sun. They can change the date to the spring equinox. And at this date, it's really easy from the altitude, the meridian altitude of the sun, to obtain a rough estimate of the latitude of Marseille, the way exactly that Pythias would have done it. And there's a little bit about the Great Bear Clock that I was talking about as well, using Stellarium to simulate that. So for each stop, there's a set of activities like this within Stellarium, plus the practical activities that I was talking about with external links. This is a screenshot from Stellarium set to Marseille. You see how you can see the night sky. Obviously, it'll be slightly different to what Pythias would have seen because of precession, but it makes it more realistic if you actually go to the location. So just to wrap things up, a set of Google Earth / Stellarium activities has been developed. They can be used by anyone to learn the basics of celestial navigation. They really are for beginners, and they can be accessed for free, obviously, at my website. If you go to mysciencewalks.com and you find the location, navigating with the stars, there's a link there. Well, there's 2 links. In fact, there's one for an English version, one for a Greek version, if any Greeks are interested. And that starts up Google Earth and the whole journey, and everything is contained within the Google Earth website. I'll put this slide up again, but before I finish off, I should again acknowledge the Institute of Physics in Scotland for believing in this project and supporting it. And I'll put the details here again if anyone wants to take note. This is my email. Please, if you have any feedback or if you spot any issues, let me know. I'm constantly trying to improve this and add new ideas. So that's the slides finished. I don't know if we have a minute, if I can try and
if it's literally a minute, I might be able to get away with it. But
it's okay, Fraser. No problem. It gets me out of the awkward position of the whole thing just failing. So just go onto my website there and you'll find it and do it in your own time. And I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoy the journey, and thank you very much for your attendance.
Thanks very much, Vassilios. There's some really powerful resources, as you say, with Google Earth and Stellarium, starting to take us towards dark skies, I think, on some of the talks as well, because we do need to be able to see our night sky. Yeah, and also probably a prize for doing a presentation whilst on holiday. But yeah, thank you, Vassilios. There are no questions in the question and answer. Please have a look at the chat, because there are a lot of comments in there. A lot of people really enjoyed your talk. So have a look at those if you want to respond, please do.